right, let's talk about hot water heaters, which, as you're about to discover, may be a much more interesting topic than you thought. This is a case study about a project that was done for Haier Corporation, a major appliance manufacturer in China. And the underlying question of the case study is a successful water heater design a technical problem or a human problem? Haier engaged our Shanghai partner Meerkat Works to do some ethnographic research and help them develop a new hot water heater. And so the question that the Meerkat team investigated was, when you buy a hot water heater, what do you actually care about? And as with all ethnographic research projects, the method employed by Meerkat was to go and talk to people. So as you now very well understand, the Meerkat team went and did research by talking with families. These, of course, were families who might be in the market for a water heater. And what do we use hot water for? Well, we use it, of course, for cooking and for bathing. And one of the things that the Meerkat team observed was that many of the shower heads in the houses where they interviewed people had this ugly scaling condition. This is a mineral deposit left by unpure water. And in talking with the families, they discovered that parents were very concerned about the bath water in which they were bathing their kids. Was the water safe? Babies drink bath water, and the parents were concerned that if the water was unsafe, then it would be unhealthy for the baby. Many of the families expressed sensitivity about the feeling of the water on their skin when they're bathing themselves, recognizing that the skin is actually drinking the water, and so wondering if the water is healthy. So this led them to develop a new hot water heater that was focused on not the heating of the water, but the feeling of the water and the confidence of the water. And so this image became part of the ad campaign, which promoted the hot water heater, producing water as pure as dew and as safe as drinking water. So there's the hot water heater in a bathroom. The final design provided fresh water through a process of threefold purification and included technology to eliminate scaling. So the ugly mineral deposits that we're collecting on the shower head would no longer be there. This tells us that the successful hot water heater design was a human problem first and a technical problem second. And this is actually true of nearly everything related to innovation. If we can understand and solve the human problem, if we can address the underlying human need, then we can create very successful products and services. Key takeaways from this: the result was a high-end product created for Haier, an average price of $750 US, which was quite high for the Chinese market. It was very successful and sold more than 10,000 units in the first 3 months that it was in the marketplace. It effectively formed a block on competitors and kept them out of this part of the market because Haier was so clearly identified with this water purification water heater, and it opened up a path for follow-on products. It enabled Haier to develop a new business model as a high-end supplier for residences. And of course, the key takeaway is that the value proposition of the water heater ended up having nothing to do with heating water. It was all about other tacit or hidden aspects of a family's experience of drinking and using water that was most important. Now, the process that Meerkat used was design thinking. So this is another example of design thinking. It was also ethnographic research, as I mentioned, where they discovered something that was probably cool, although in this case it was actually kind of hot, which was the tacit and hidden needs of families. And they're concerned not with the heating of the water, they just took that for granted, but the other elements of value that the hot water heater could provide around purification. The third element of the case study, which we haven't discussed yet, is trees. Trees is a technical problem-solving methodology, which we'll introduce in the product development chapter. And the Meerkat team used trees to solve some of the technical problems which they had identified through the ethnographic research. So if we consider the design thinking loop of immerse, invent, and implement, in the implement stage, they used trees to discover cost-effective technical solutions for the water purification that they needed to accomplish and the anti-scaling. So as we can see, hot water may be a bit more of an interesting topic than we thought, because in discovering how to produce a successful hot water heater, we see again the importance of the tacit dimension, and we discover a different form of the value proposition. Now let's close the case by looking at the value ladder, and here we can see quite clearly that a hot water heater as a device puts a supplier at the transactional level. There are many hot water heaters on the market, and so if someone's simply looking for the cheapest hot water heater, it's not a very compelling or interesting place to be as a manufacturer. But by introducing the water purification element into into the water heater, Haier effectively created a transformed value proposition. They turned customers into loyal partners, created a very successful product at the very high end of the market, which of course was very profitable, but also, as noted, enabled them to develop follow-on products that were also successful, that also address these tacit or hidden needs of their customers. So all in all, a fascinating story about hot water, a simple story, but one which is important for us to remember as we think about product design, product development, design thinking, and ethnographic research. After we had recorded this video, I went back and looked at it one more time, and I realized that there was another thought that I wanted to add, so I'm sticking this at the end. And that is to think about one of the first slides that I showed at the beginning of the presentation, which asked the question, when you buy a hot water heater, what do you care about? As the case shows us very clearly, we can make the distinction between the use of the product. What do you use water for? What do you use hot water for? Well, cooking, cleaning, and bathing. What's the usability factor? Well, that's the hotness of the hot water. But what's the meaning level? Why do people choose to buy this particular Haier brand, this particular Haier model? At the meaning level, the value proposition is around purity. And in fact, what this tells us is that the success of the product depends not on its use, not on its usability, but on its meaning, which highlights for us again the importance of this trilogy in thinking about the design of any product or service. Because as with most products, it is at the meaning level that most customers will make their choice in the marketplace.